Hi, this is going to be a book collection video. I want to do this because I wanted to remember the books that I have as of this moment. I used to have more books, but like I've mentioned in some of my previous video, I lost a lot of them during the many times that I moved houses. I only started to recollect books 2-3 years ago. I also lent out books to friends and family. Those books will not be included in this video. I really want to film like a decent formal bookshelf tour, but I still haven't figured out how to organize my books. So I think I have over 100 books right now on hand. I do have some books left in my old house, the house I grew up in. I do want to say that books to me is not just a collection of text or stories. Books to me is a collection of memories. Each of this book has a memory. I can tell exactly what stage in my life I've read the book, the feelings, my emotions at the time, my state of mind at the time. Sometimes when I get bored, I look at my books and I pick one and I try to reminisce the time when I read the book. So it's like thoughts, my history. I'm always sentimental like that, especially with annotations. I do want to say that this shelf here are full of law books. I don't want to include that in this video. So I have this stack of Michael Jackson books and it is positioned there. So brief story, I actually am a Michael Jackson fan. I've been a fan since 2007. I was in high school at the time and I remember feeling ashamed because I grew up in a generation where people misjudge him and people made up memes, negative opinions about him. Over the years, I have formed my own opinion. Like BTS, I also initially fell in love with his music. I started to get to know more the person. When he died in 2009, that's when I actually started collecting books because books were being republished. I ended up buying a bunch because they're everywhere. I'm gonna start with the very first Michael Jackson book that I read. It's actually this one, which was this was published. It's a little dusty. This was published in I think 2004 or 5. There is a new edition also by the same author published after he died. This is the Michael Jackson, The Magic and the Madness by J. Randy Haraborelli. This is where I've gotten most information about Michael Jackson. Cannot guarantee that it's true though, but it will give you an idea of Michael Jackson's life, how tragic, bittersweet, but you get to understand the person more. I also have Michael Jackson, King of Pop. I bought this on sale, so I didn't even read it. I just bought it for the sake of buying it. It's written by Emily Herbert. I have this on Michael Jackson by Margot Jefferson. It's very thin. I also got this on sale. I really love this cover. Looks very classy. Because I have the Michael Jackson tapes by Rabbi Shmuley Botich or Botach. I don't know how to pronounce that. This is actually... it's really dusty. A lot of fans actually do not like this book because the author actually bashed Michael Jackson here, or it's just not a good book to read if you want comfort. But I don't know because I haven't read this book. Next, I have The Final Years of Michael Jackson Unmasked by Ian Halperin. I don't really like this cover. Again, I didn't read this one. I just wanted to collect the books and I bought it on sale. Next, I have this coffee table book. Love this cover. Michael Jackson, Life of a Legend by Michael Heatley. I've also gotten wind that most fans don't like this book. I heard there were a lot of typographical errors in this book. Also, I did not read this book, but I bought it like full price. The last two Michael Jackson books are books he's written himself. So of course we have the very famous autobiography. This is the republished one, post-death, Moonwalk by Michael Jackson. This was published originally in the 80s, late 80s, I think. What is very exciting about this autobiography is the front cover, because you see a drawing of a Michael Jackson, a self-portrait. He is really into art. Also, one of the reasons why I fell in love with music, art, and writing and books is Michael Jackson. He is the start of everything. He is such a great artist, and a lot of people don't really consider him as an author, but I do. I'll talk about that in a while. The best thing about this book is this printed signature of Michael Jackson. So when you own this copy, it's as if he signed it. This is printed, but it looks real. I also keep a rose in here from my high school graduation. This is the book that I'm talking about. I do consider him as a writer because of this book, and reading this book inspired me to write. This is a compilation of reflections, short stories, poems. It's called Dancing the Dream by Michael Jackson. This I read. The autobiography I also read. There is a famous line here. It goes, "I keep on dancing and dancing and dancing until there is only the dance." He wrote that. He has such a deep soul. He's very wise. I wished I've had the chance to have a conversation with him, just like I wish I could have a conversation with RM of BTS. Okay, so the last in this stack is this beaten up copy of the Bible, which is actually owned by my late grandmother. Right next to the Michael Jackson stack, I have Beyond the Story, the 10-year record of BTS. This is BTS's biography or memoir, as some people call it. I have a lot of opinion about this book. Some good, but mostly not great. I do have a book discussion on this. It's not exactly what you want to hear, but I stand by what I said. Next, I have Avril Lavigne's unofficial book by Joey Thorley. This is during the Let Go era. It's just a coffee table book. It's nice to have because I'm also a huge fan of Avril Lavigne growing up. Next, I have two ballet books. I want to include these because I love ballet, and so I have two books about ballet. And then I also love art, so I have Manet. He is one of my favorite ever artists. My favorite piece of art is this one. I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce the name, but this piece here, I really want to see that in person. I love how confusing, how bewildered she looks, and it's just open to interpretations, and I like that. Okay, so the next stack I have is my very few collection of non-fiction books. Most of my non-fiction are out with friends. I lent them out to friends and I haven't gotten them back, so this is just what I have right now. Right on top, we have The Art of Thinking Clearly by Rolf Dobelli. Then I have the concise edition of The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. He is one of my favorite authors, and I know opinions about him are split. Lots of people hate him, lots of people love him. His book, The 48 Laws of Power, is one of my favorite books of all time. I also have the concise edition of that, but it's actually with my cousin right now, so I only have The Art of Seduction. Next, I have this book. It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be by Paul Arden. I don't even remember that book. It must not be good. Pep Talks for Writers by Grant Faulkner. I bought this at Big Bad Wolf at World Trade Center. This as well, The Health Rules by Frank Lipman MD and Daniel Claro. I got this for my birthday, and it's the 101 things I learned in law school. I don't know how to pronounce that. Vibeke Norgard Martin with Matthew Frederick. It does talk about law school. It's not exactly what I expected. Next, we have Educated by Tara Westover. I bought this book because it's highly recommended by Bill Gates. I actually started reading this book, but I haven't finished it yet. I think I discontinued that. Criminal Masterminds by Charlotte Krieg. I am very interested in the minds of criminals and psychopaths. There's just something about them that intrigues me. I just find them fascinating, and I don't know if that's weird. It probably is, but yeah. The Great Philosophers by Stephen Law. This gave birth to multiple TBRs. While reading this book, I end up buying more books. Next, I have What If by Randall Munroe. I actually haven't read this yet. It's like a Q&A of scientific questions, like absurd questions you don't normally ask. And I have Into the Magic Shop by James R. Doty. Bought that because of BTS. Haven't read that. Then I have The First Voyage Around the World by Antonio Pigafetta. I've read this and I've talked about this in my channel. The Art of Creative Writing by Lajos Egri. You Can Negotiate Anything by Herb Cohen. This beaten up copy of 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think by Brianna West. I've talked about this book. I don't know if I've talked about it here. Briefly, I think. Everyone has this book, The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. This book, I would if I could and I can, by James Hoke or Hokie.